Auto-Layout is one of the most powerful features in Figma, but it's also super confusing. So in this video, I want to tell you all about auto-layouts, how to use it. I'm also going to give you examples and some tips and tricks of how can you use it better. So let's get started. What is auto-layout? Auto-layout is a function which helps any element becomes bigger or smaller based on the content inside it, right? So let's look at some example to understand this better. Let's say I have these two buttons, okay? So if I just stretch it, this one becomes bigger or smaller and the things remain center aligned, whereas this is not center aligned to the thing. Also, if you notice, here is one more thing. So if I change this button text, the padding remains same throughout, but in this one, if I do the same thing, it doesn't, right? So that's one thing. Second thing, let's look at this. So if I delete one of this, it just shifts on its own as I delete this. If I create, let's say, one more of it, it just expands to also keep the spacing, padding, etc. the same, and I don't have to work on it. Let's look at one more example. So this is, let's say, a navigation on the left side of any dashboard, and I have a few options. There is a CTA. So if I delete the one option, it just shrinks to fit. It just becomes smaller. Similarly, if I create one more option, it just increases to accommodate this one as well. And also, let's say if we have this entire page and I want to just add something or remove something from it, I don't have to fix the spacing or padding. I just need email and password, don't need confirm password, so I can just remove it and everything just takes the same spacing and padding and just shifts upward. So let's talk about why do we need it. So there are three main reasons why we use auto layouts. Number one, it saves us the manual effort of every time fixing the spacing and padding, even if we add something, remove something, or just change the content. So if we apply it once, it will just reposition itself or increase the size or decrease the size as we increase the length of the content, etc. Second thing is it keeps the entire layout consistent even if something gets added or removed from it. And third, and the most important thing, it helps us make even the complex layouts with very ease because we have fixed the spacing and padding once, so we don't have to fix that again and again. So with that getting sorted, you understood that how this sort of functions. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of how the auto layout actually functions. What are some of the properties? How can you apply it? So let's go. So I'm just going to come here. I'm going to write a text. Let's say I write button. There are two ways to create a button. So button is one of the easiest implementation of auto layout, which I'm going to show you. And I'm just going to make a copy of it so that I can show you both the methods how we can create buttons. So first, I'll just create a rectangle here, which is something like this. I'm just going to send it backwards, align this properly, and once I have done that, right, you can see there is a text, there is a rectangle. I can go here and click on auto layout to create an auto layout, or I can just press Shift and A and this gets converted to a button. I'll just give it a color so that this is more visible. So this is this. Now I can select, since I have converted this into auto layout, you can see that this has been converted to a frame. Here you can see the icon and all the properties are opened on the right side for auto layout. Now you can see all the different properties. So there is direction here, which we are going to talk about in a bit. Similarly for the spacing between items, since there is only one item right now, so we are going to come back to this. But there are three properties we are going to discuss right now. First is the horizontal padding. It's essentially the padding, this padding that you see highlighted over here, and this padding, right? So if I change this, just look at this. So the padding on both the sides increase. Similarly, you can increase the vertical padding as well, and you can also change the independent paddings, right? So if you want to just increase it from the left, top, right, and bottom, so you can do that from here. Also, there is one more thing that you can do. You can just press command and make it one padding for every side. So if you press command and click on this, you can keep the padding same from all sides. So it will be 14 from all sides. There's one more way. So you can come here, click on this, you'll see this, and you can just type in the padding for independent sides. So that's another way of changing the padding. So this is about the vertical padding and the horizontal padding. Similarly, this is the alignment thing. So let's say if I make it top left aligned, so let's say I add an icon over here and I just take it, and So you see that this is not center aligned, right? I'll just change the color of the icon first. So as you can see, this is not center aligned. So what I can do is I can just select this and say that everything will be center aligned. So you see that this got shifted downwards. So now even if, like, you know, I make this smaller, you'll see that this will always be center aligned. If you make this bottom right, then this will get bottom aligned similarly. So I'll keep it center aligned because this is the most optimal way. So now even if I change the text, this is going to maintain the separation as well as the padding from all sides. So now there is one thing that becomes super important, which you should look at. So here is the spacing between items. Since there are 2 items there, now I can control the spacing, this particular spacing inside them from here, and I can say it will be 14. So I can just fix it from here and this will remain that way. And similarly, let's talk about direction. So right now these two are in horizontal to each other, so the direction is horizontal. If I make it vertical, then this will go in downwards direction, so the auto layout is in downward direction. Here's one more thing that you should look at. So if I want the icon to be above and the text to be below it, so what I'll do is I can select the thing, press the upwards icon, and it will move upwards. Downwards, it will move downwards. And you can do it in multiple such things. So if you have, for example, multiple this, you can, like, you know, still do it. This actually holds true for horizontal as well. So if in horizontal I want to move the icon before the text, so I can just use the left arrow on the keyboard or right arrow on the keyboard to move it, right? Here is one important thing that you should notice, that in this, right now it's a button, so there will not be 2 text or 2 icons. But let's say if this is an element in which multiple things has to come. So let's say I want to bring this, so you see the blue line that is coming. So it actually tells me where this will get placed. So let's say if I place it over here, it will again maintain the same padding that we had set for the separation of this. And if we increase the, like, you know, spacing between these, this will be increased for both the things, right? So I hope this is clear. I'll just delete it. This looks good. The another way of going about it is not even creating a rectangle in the background. I can just do Shift A for this. This got converted to an auto layout, as you can see from here. Now I can just go, the first thing I'll do is I'll give it a fill so that it's visible to you guys. So this is there. I can now just increase the padding as I have told you earlier, just make it center aligned, and this is another way of adding button. Once you have done that, you can also give it some corner radius, however you like. So this is auto layout basics. Now let's go and talk a little bit more complex auto layout functions that we can do. So this is something I want to create a filter row, so that comes in the UI. So here's, I have created one filter, which is this. So in this I have already applied auto layout, just like, you know, I showed you for the button. Now I want this to be repeated again and again, and the name will be changed. So I'll just copy paste, right? Then I'll select these and convert them into an auto layout, but the spacing is too much between them. So let me just fix that for now. So now this got converted to an auto layout, as I have converted this into auto layout, and now I can use this to define the spacing between them. But also these are auto layout in itself, so I can do the, like, padding increase or decrease for a particular one. So let's say this is sort, this is filters, and as you see, like, as the size of this is increasing, the size of the entire auto layout is increasing as well. So this is nested auto layouts. You can think of this. We'll call it likes, we'll call it, let's say, fast delivery, for example. Okay, now I feel like sort and filter should have an icon so that they are clearly visible differently. So I'll just go, I'll get a sort icon or something like this will do. I'll just take this. As I told you, the, like, you know, blue line indicates where it will come. Also, like, you see that this is not center aligned. So first I'm going to make it center aligned, right? Secondly, I see that the size of this has increased, so I can make this smaller just to make it consistent with this. I'll make the, like, you know, stroke to be slightly thinner, right? So this is there. I just want to reduce the space, so you know the drill. Similarly, I want one for filter. I'll just take this, and this is there. Again, I'll use the same size for this. I'll just say, let's say 16 and 1.2. So this essentially becomes your filters. This is in horizontal direction. if you want to make something, a list, a navigation, so let's look how we are going to make a navigation. So let's get an icon first. So I'll just use feather icons again. I'll say, let's say dash, let's say menu for now. I've got this. I will just change it white. I'll write, let's say menu. I'll just align these two. I'll convert this into auto layout and I'll keep it center aligned, so these two are always center aligned. I can also just copy paste and I'll bring it in this direction. So I think I'll just align these all to left, right. I'll say option B, option C. I can change the icon also, so that is also there, option D. So let's say if I want to change the icon, so all I have to do is get another icon, let's say this one, just bring it here, it will get this. Since I'll remove this will just replace the previous icon, and I can make it white or something, and I will just distribute it evenly. Or I could have just done one more thing. So since I'm any which ways going to make it auto layout, I'll just make it auto layout and the spacing will become equal, because here we can't have different spacing between items. So now the only thing that I'm seeing is I have to make all these color black. I'll tell you why, because I'm going to create a white sort of thing here. So right now you see the direction is vertical, which was the point of it, but I'll even go further. I'll add the fill. Then what I'll do is I'll just give it some padding on both sides. So something like a 24 padding or maybe a 12 padding is better. Now here is what you have to look at. So right now these are all in different size, but I know that this can be even bigger. This can be something like a dashboard, right? It just extends, but I want it to be fixed so that it doesn't extend for everything. So what I can do is right now, if you select the auto layout, you will see here is an option called hug, right? So right now what it means is the size of the biggest content, it will just hug to the size of that, right? So that's there. But I can also make it fixed width. Like I can say that this is going to be this much and that's it. So one thing that you can also do is, if you select this, you'll see there is hug also there, because auto layout has been applied to this. But I can also, if you see here, there is a function called fix width. So if I make it fix width and change it to, let's say, so the auto layout is this much, but this has like outgrown it. So what I'll do is I can select all of these and I can make it fill container. What fill container will do is it will give the entire space to this particular thing. So fill container. Now I'll have to also do one thing. The auto layout has the fill, but right now these don't. So I'll just give these as the fill container as well. So now this can be as big as we want, right? So this is how you can also make the sidebars, any sort of list, and control the spacing and padding from there. So there is one more thing that I want to tell you, which is there is a function. Let's say I want to write, I want to show some way that two of the filters have been applied. So what I can do is I can write, let's say 2, I'll just convert it into auto layout, I'll give it a fill, I'll just convert the color of the auto layout into orange or sort of red to just showcase that, make it like roundish, decrease the top and bottom so that it's mostly like a circular thing. Now I can just just like I have added the icon, I can just add it like here. Right now it has to be much smaller so that it can accommodate that. So something like this, and I'll just, so this is something I can do, but I genuinely don't want to do that. I want to place it over here. So this is something that earlier not possible. I can't place this over here because as soon as I take it here, it will either want to come inside or like as a thing outside, right? Which is something I don't want. So what I'll do is I'll take it here, but there is an option here called absolute position. So what I'll do is I'll click on that, I'll take it on top of this, and I'll just top align. Okay, so it's better. Now I can see it over here. I can also do something like this, which I think is better, right? So what will happen is, now I want to show you something. So let's say if I make it bigger or smaller, right, the entire auto layout, if let's say in responsive I have to make it bigger or smaller. So right now you see that nothing is sort of changing, these are still maintaining the spacing, etc. But what if I want the spacing to change based on if I'm giving it bigger space? So I'll just go here in the kebab menu. In the kebab menu, you will see that there is called spacing mode is packed, which means that these are going to maintain the spacing or spacing between the items as we have defined it, right? So I'm just going to make it space between, which means that as I increase the size of the entire auto layout, the bigger auto layout here, it's going to increase or decrease, right? I can keep it packed also, which is also fine, but here's what I want you to look at. This is having a fixed position with respect to this. It's not changing the position, right? Which is a very cool thing. Also, just just to say that once we have done this, it has just given it some constraint. If you are aware of constraints, so it has just given it a right and top constraint in respect to this particular filters thing. So if I'm making the entire auto layout bigger or smaller, it is not changing position. So this is one way of using it. You can also, let's say this is what I have created as icons, and I've just given it auto layout. I'll just increase it so that you can see it clearly, but right now it's fixed, so it's going outside. So I'll make it hug content and I'll just get there. Now I want to place this dot, which means that there is an alert. So I'll just bring it here again. It will just become one more thing in this particular list. That's why it's here. So now I'll just go click on absolute positioning, go here and say, so this now looks good, right? And again, the same thing, if I increase the size of it, right now it must be in the packed mode, so I can make it space between, so it just sticks here. So this is how you can fix the position even if you have created auto layout for everything. So let's say we have this, right? I'll just make it 0. So I created this auto layout, and now I want these to overlap on top of each other. So I can just reduce this and it will start overlapping, right? Here one thing is, I want this to be bottom, this to go behind and this to be on the top, right? For that I can just go here and choose canvas stacking, last on top. The last one will come on top, and that's the way it is. So even if I, let's say, remove this, this will become the top. So let's say I remove this, this will become the top. And if I just change it to first on top, this will come on top. If I remove this, this will become the top, right? So that's canvas stacking for you, okay? And the last thing is, let's say if we have two texts, normal text and slightly smaller text, which can be, let's say, subtext. Now, if I create an auto layout, right, there is one function, I don't like it. I want this to be baseline aligned, which is this blue line aligned, right? So what I'll do is I'll just enable this and you'll see that this got aligned to that. Now I'll just reduce and so you can see, right? So these are all the functions that are there in auto layout. Now I'll just use all the things that we have learned so far and create a card using auto layout. So for that I've got some components over here, like there is an image, there is my image, name, position, this is the handle, icon to explore more in menu, some description, followers, my location and things like that, right? So let's say I'll just create a card which is 362 in width. I'll just extend this, make this white. I'll bring this image on the side for now, image over here. These two I think will come together. So first I'll reduce the space. I don't think that much space is needed, so maybe a 4 or 6. So I'll just make it 4. I'll convert this into auto layout. Now I'll just get this and place it over here. I want to also convert these into auto layout, but give this the horizontal direction. Then I'll just get the founder. I want these to be here, so I can essentially I've converted this into auto layout, so I'll just convert this into auto layout as well. Align these, and we have this and this entire thing, so I'll just left align and then convert it into auto layout. right? So I've got most of the elements over here. I'll just do one thing. I'll just make it fill to container, and then I'll just make it fill to container again. I'll just reduce the size, and I want the padding to be, I'll just make it full size, and I'll give it padding from both sides of, let's say, 12. I think the spacing is way too much, so I'll just make it 16, so more packed. I'll just also include this image as auto layout in this, and then I just want to remove this because I can now just give this a background fill. Now I'll just increase the padding as I have to. I'll make the top one more so that we can fit the image also. So I can just bring it. So I'll just bring it here, and if I place it here, so this will come like this, but we can do absolute positioning, and I'll just make it aligned to the top left, send it in the background, and if I just like make it lesser, so I can make it even better. So if I want, I can give it a inside stroke of something in white. So and just to slightly make it even better, I'll just make it 8 as the corner radius. So this becomes a card that we have created using auto layout, where I have also used some functions of fill as well as fixed width and stuff like that. I hope this video helped you learn about auto layouts and made it less confusing for you. Let me know in the comments what would you like to learn more about auto layouts, and I'll create a video on that as well. If you like this video, you'll definitely learn from this video I've created on 7 Figma tips that will make you more efficient and help you create better and faster designs, and I'll see you in the next one.